Well, it's now time for the keynote address. It's my pleasure to request the former chairman of CWC, Shri A.B. Pandya, to deliver the keynote address. With a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, here is Shri A.B. Pandya for the keynote address.
Honorable Shri M.B. Patil ji, the Minister for Water Resources, Government of Karnataka, Mr. P.B. Ramamurthy, Additional Chief Secretary, Mr. Jha, Mr. Gurupad Swami, Professor Anurag Kumar, Mr. Hiremat, Dr. Pillai, and Shri Srinivas, and other eminent engineers and scientists from the field of water resources, especially the former chairman of Central Water Commission and various other secretaries and other chief engineers of the state governments. It's a matter of great sense of happiness that I have today for addressing you in this particular gathering. The concept of having a dam safety conference came up quite well, and fortunately it has, right in its kind of second edition, we have been able to pick up the concept very well across the country with the kind of enthusiasm that is being shown when we started planning out this conference. Really, the dam safety is a management discipline. Basically, running a dam safety program or implementing a dam safety program is more like running a super specialty hospital with multidisciplinary super specialties to be managed under one administration. It's a techno management discipline which we have to really address when we talk of the dam safety. Looking at that, we basically started in Central Water Commission in 1980 by establishing a chief engineer dam safety as a part of a plan scheme. And then onwards, the Central Water Commission has been instrumental in propagating these ideas of dam safety, concepts of dam safety. The Dam Safety Assurance and Rehabilitation Project, which was taken with the assistance of the World Bank in 1990s, which ended in 1999, also attempted to bring this forward in a rather limited way. And then later on, now we have been able to take up this dam rehabilitation and improvement project in 2012 onwards, which is now trying to build in the system into the dam safety efforts. As I feel it, the dam safety is being marketed in I would say a gabber-like fashion. That bete so ja nahi to gabbar aa jayega. If you don't go to sleep, a child is told that if you don't go to sleep, a demon will come and hit you. We try to put dam safety in the context of failures. But really speaking, we should be looking at the dam safety as an asset management discipline, as an asset management set of practice, which is more apt when we look at the importance that the dams are gaining across the world and especially in our country for ensuring the water security of the country. For a primarily monsoon-based country where the water supply from the nature is essentially highly intermittent and very unpredictable, the dams act as a kind of a balancing capacitor to even out the supply. And that is where the importance of the dam lie, and that is where the importance of the asset base lie. And like any other engineered man-made structure, the assets that have been created have to be maintained, have to be nurtured. Dams interact with the nature in a very, very significant way. When we implement a dam project, the downstream impacts have got a very strong influence on the development paradigms that are implemented in the downstream. The prosperity that comes out by virtue of the having that dam at that particular location for the command areas on the downstream, the other economic benefits, tangible and intangible, that really comes in. And as we have seen in case of most of the dams in the country, these benefits keep on increasing with the time. these benefits keep on becoming more and more crucial towards laying the foundation for the further growth of a growing society like India in time. And that is where the importance of managing this asset really comes to the fore. While managing this asset, the dam safety as a discipline, we will have to change our symptomatic approach to a more systematic approach. Currently, when we started out the dam safety program, the primary issue was that you have got certain identified distress problems or identified problems from the point of view of the behavior or from the point of view of the material problems or others. And you have to somehow solve them. And that is where the issues came in from that side. But really speaking, what is more important is that we have to go on a risk-based approach. We must be able to understand the risk associated with the individual dams, because dams we have to manage as an asset base, and whom to prefer, what kind of resources are required for preferring a particular type of work on a particular type of dam in a context where our financial and our managerial resources are finite and limited, is something that the dam safety as a discipline we have to bring to this country. If we keep on doing the symptomatic approach, the overall benefits will still remain in some kind of a limited way. It won't be felt over a wider cross section and towards the bettering the water security. So from this angle, I feel that the dam safety in the future will have to go more and more towards this angle. The other aspect that we have to understand and we have to really appreciate is that essentially, as the dam population grows, the demands and the needs for rehabilitation is bound to grow. But as the water resources engineers will appreciate, each water resources project is basically a unique project. It doesn't happen like you have got an exact replica of a project in any other location. And dams also have the same kind of a context. The dams also have the context in which they are unique in itself. Every dam is an individual, like every human being is an individual. Likewise, every dam is an individual. You will never have a complete replication of all the conditions of one dam to the another one. Now in this situation, when the rehabilitation issues come in, when the remediation issues come in, the approaches will have to be unique. And when we have to implement unique approaches, many of our management philosophies also will have to undergo certain amount of change. Especially in our country, we have the almost, we can say, barring a few individual instances, rest of the dams are basically all government owned. And the government basically works on a philosophy of precedence. Somebody has to do that somewhere first. Somebody has to blacken that noting sheet first. And then using that noting sheet, I will do my work. In the process, the innovativeness takes a very serious beating. When we have to look at the rehabilitation aspects, the innovativeness will have to be given its appropriate weightage. And innovativeness will have to be built into the decision-making process that mostly the government really undergoes while approving or while sanctioning a project or while approving the works. It's a very difficult challenge. It puts a huge responsibility on the individuals who are going to propose those kind of unique kind of solutions or unique kind of approaches. But then all the same, without that, it may not be really feasible. So when we implement the dam safety, especially the rehabilitation program, the innovativeness will have to be given a due value, and proving that innovativeness through the various kinds of controlled experiments and then some amount of site-based in situ experiments will have to be given due weightage in the decision-making process, especially in the financial decision-making process. Without this, the rehabilitation programs are going to have a serious problem And we need to really address this because we have got now 5,100 dams, more number of dams will come. Those dams are going to be in much more difficult geotechnical and seismological environment. And when any problem occurs to those dams, we are going to need these things, this approach and these methodologies, not only from the technological point of view, but also from the management and managerial point of view. So from this angle, we need to really work hard on two fronts. Number one will be to find the managerial approach for absorbing these innovative solutions, and number two will be to have those innovative solutions specifically developed for the kind of conditions that the India as a country undergoes. We have got an extremely large segment, a very, very large spectrum of our climatic and hydrologic conditions that we encounter while we implement dams across the country. The conditions can go into almost like polar kind of atmosphere when you implement it in the higher reaches of Himalayas, and they go towards a highly equatorial tropic kind of conditions when you implement the dams in the southern parts of India. And this context will have to be kept in mind while trying to standardize or while trying to utilize the approaches the basket of approaches that are available to you. One should not try to really work on a single kind of a one-size-fits-all kind of approach. However, the basic guideline principles may still remain the same. This is the need which we have to address as a dam safety community for the country. The another important aspect is the capacity building. When a dam is constructed, when we are constructing the dam in its original form, we have a lot of design practices available to us, and those design practices give us a kind of a backing from a accumulated experience of over the centuries towards building or planning a structure which has got a certain kind of a specified and a guaranteed parameters on which we can assume that the dam will continue to perform for a reasonable period of time. But then when the rehabilitation issue comes in, when the evaluation issue comes in, then these principles serve us up to a limited purpose only. These principles merely indicate that some of the parameters have gone out of the envelope that we have been thinking that this particular dam will perform or behave in a particular way. And in this context, the analytical methodologies that have to be adopted, the solutions that have to be adopted in order to understand the behavior of the dam is something that requires a very serious capacity building approach in our country. Most of the time, you will not be able to use the same design methodologies, because the design methodologies will utilize certain kind of idealizations based on certain kind of principles. But now, unfortunately, those very idealizations have been violated. That is why we are at this point. So now we have a situation where we need to really understand the behavior right from the fundamentals, right from the basics of the material science, right from finding what kind of a material model that is appropriate for a particular kind of a concrete that has been used in the dam, or a particular kind of clay that has been used in the core of a earth dam, and so on and so forth. What is the behavior of interfaces that are there, that are built into the dam? How the water has made the ingress? What are the kind of chemical reactions that are happening within the material? Similarly, in case of the hydrology area also, what are the kind of changes that the catchment has undergone and how its response has got modified? In the emergency action plan, we have to understand that how the downstream valley development has taken place. What are the new constraints that have been imposed on this particular channel hydraulics simply because of the development that has happened on the downstream in view of the dam being providing those kind of benefits. And in these areas, the new methodologies based on sound fundamental principles have to be applied right at the grassroots level. That appreciation has to come right at the grassroots level. Because if we will keep on relying on individual few number of experts or few kind of sets of individuals, then the sheer volume of the work will force us to neglect some of the problems, which is not really good. So we need to really work hard on this area. We need to really work hard on building the capacity for understanding the behavior of the dam and then providing the appropriate inputs. And then of course it can always be taken to any level of speciality that is required. But the grassroots level analysis which has to come through in order to understand the behavior of the dam is something that needs to be really put in at a relatively low level, so that the overall product remains very, very satisfactory. Another major issue that we need to work on is the catchment hydrology in both the contexts.